She was 18 years old when they told her she would marry a blind beggar. Her stepmother smiled as she said it, like she had finally found the perfect punishment. The whole town whispered. Some people pitied her. Others said she deserved it for being too proud, too quiet, too different. But as she stood at the altar next to a man who couldn't see her face, she made a decision. She would endure this, just like she had endured everything else. What she didn't know was that the man standing beside her wasn't who anyone thought he was. And the life she thought was her prison was actually the door to something she never imagined possible. This is the story of a girl who was thrown away, and the man who caught her when no one else would. Before we go any further, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're new here, click on the subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Her name was Claire. She grew up in a small town in Oregon, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone and secrets didn't stay hidden for long. Claire's childhood was happy until the day it wasn't. She was 12 years old when her mother died of cancer. It happened fast, too fast for Claire to understand what was happening. One day her mom was there, weak but smiling, telling Claire everything would be okay. 3 weeks later, she was gone. Claire's father, a man named Robert, fell apart. He stopped going to work. He stopped eating. He spent his days sitting in the living room staring at nothing. Claire tried to take care of him, making him meals he wouldn't eat, sitting with him even when he didn't talk. But grief is a heavy thing, and Robert couldn't carry it alone. A year after Claire's mother died, Robert met a woman named Linda at a grief support group. Linda was a widow herself, someone who understood loss. She was kind to Robert, patient with him, and slowly he started coming back to life. 6 months later, Robert and Linda got married. Claire was 13, and she wanted to be happy for her father, but something about Linda made her uneasy. At first, Linda was nice to Claire. She asked about school, complimented her drawings, bought her new clothes. But once the wedding was over and Linda moved into their house, things changed. It started small. Linda would make comments about Claire's messy room, her grades, the way she dressed. Claire tried to do better, to be the daughter Linda wanted. But nothing was ever good enough. By the time Claire turned 15, she realized Linda didn't see her as a daughter. She saw her as competition for Robert's attention. Linda started creating distance between Claire and her father. She would plan activities for just the two of them, leaving Claire at home. She would interrupt when Claire tried to talk to her dad at dinner. She would tell Robert that Claire was being difficult, moody, disrespectful. Robert, still fragile from grief and desperate to keep his new marriage intact, believed her. He started pulling away from Claire, trusting Linda's version of events over his daughter's. Claire felt herself disappearing in her own home. She became quiet, withdrawn, spending most of her time in her room. She threw herself into school, into books, into anything that let her escape the loneliness that filled every corner of that house. When Claire turned 17, Robert was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was aggressive, and the doctors said he didn't have much time. Claire watched her father fade, and this time Linda didn't let her get close. Linda controlled who visited, when, and for how long. She told Claire that her father needed rest, that seeing her upset him. Claire was allowed 10 minutes a day with him, and even then, Linda hovered in the doorway. 3 months after the diagnosis, Robert died. Claire was 18, and she felt like she had lost him twice, once to Linda, and now to death. At the funeral, Linda played the role of grieving widow perfectly. She cried. She accepted condolences. She thanked people for coming. Claire stood in the back, numb, feeling like a stranger at her own father's funeral. After the service, Linda took Claire aside and told her they needed to talk. They went home, and Linda sat Claire down at the kitchen table. Her tone was cold, businesslike. "Your father left me the house, the savings, everything. You're an adult now, Claire. It's time you figured out your own life." Claire stared at her. "I don't have anywhere to go." Linda shrugged. "That's not my problem. You have 2 weeks to find something." Claire wanted to scream, to ask how Linda could be so cruel, but she knew it wouldn't matter. Linda had already made up her mind. For the next 2 weeks, Claire applied for jobs, looked for apartments she couldn't afford, tried to figure out how to survive on her own with no money and no support. She felt lost, terrified, alone. Then, 1 week before Claire was supposed to leave, Linda came to her with an unexpected announcement. "I found you a husband." Claire blinked, certain she had misheard. "What?" Linda repeated herself. "I found you a husband. His name is Ben. He's a good man. He agreed to marry you and take care of you. Claire felt her heart drop. I don't want to get married. I don't even know him. Linda's face hardened. You don't have a choice. You can't take care of yourself. You have no money, no job, no plan. This is the best option for you. Claire tried to argue, but Linda wouldn't listen. Over the next few days, Claire learned more about Ben. He was 32 years old, 14 years older than her. He lived in a small house on the edge of town, and he was blind. He had lost his sight in an accident when he was in his 20s. People in town knew him as the guy who sat outside the grocery store with a tin can, asking for spare change. He was quiet, kept to himself, didn't have any family. When Linda told people she was arranging a marriage between Claire and Ben, the reactions were mixed. Some people thought Linda was being generous, giving Claire a stable home. Others whispered that Linda was just trying to get rid of Claire in the cruelest way possible, marrying her off to a man with nothing. The wedding was small, just a few people from the church and a justice of the peace. Claire wore a plain dress Linda had bought from a thrift store. Ben wore a shirt and jeans. He stood quietly at the altar, his eyes unfocused, a cane in his hand. Claire looked at him and felt a wave of sadness. This wasn't his fault. He probably needed help just as much as she did. When the officiant asked if she would take Ben as her husband, Claire said yes, her voice barely a whisper. Ben said yes too, his voice steady. And just like that, they were married. After the ceremony, Ben led Claire to his truck, an old, beat-up vehicle that looked like it had seen better days. They drove in silence to his house. When they arrived, Claire's heart sank. The house was tiny, with faded paint and a porch that sagged on one side. Inside, the furniture was old and mismatched. There was a small kitchen, a living room with a couch and a TV, and one bedroom. Ben set Claire's suitcase down in the bedroom and turned to her. You can have the bed. I'll sleep on the couch. Claire was surprised. You don't have to do that. Ben shook his head. I want you to feel safe here. That's important to me. That first night, Claire lay in the unfamiliar bed, staring at the ceiling, trying not to cry. She felt like her life had been taken from her piece by piece until there was nothing left. But in the other room, she could hear Ben moving around, and his earlier words echoed in her mind. I want you to feel safe here. It was the first time in years anyone had said something like that to her. Over the next few weeks, Claire settled into a routine. She cooked, cleaned, and tried to make the small house feel more like a home. Ben was kind, always thanking her for meals, asking if she needed anything, never demanding or controlling. He spent his days doing odd jobs around the neighborhood, things people hired him for like yard work or minor repairs. Claire was surprised by how capable he was despite being blind. He moved through the house with ease, rarely bumping into things, always seeming to know where everything was. One day, Claire decided to follow him. She told herself she was just curious, but deep down, she needed to understand who this man really was. Ben left the house in the morning, tapping his cane as he walked down the street. Claire stayed far enough behind that he wouldn't hear her. She watched as he walked past the grocery store where he usually sat with his tin can. But today, he didn't stop. He kept walking, turning down a side street Claire had never been on. She followed, her heart pounding. Ben walked up to a large, beautiful house with a well-kept lawn and expensive cars in the driveway. Claire stopped, confused. What was he doing here? Then she saw something that made her freeze. Ben reached into his pocket, pulled out a key, and unlocked the front door. He walked inside like he owned the place. Because he did. Claire's mind raced. She stood there for a long time, trying to make sense of what she had just seen. That night, when Ben came home, Claire couldn't hold it in anymore. She confronted him. I followed you today. Ben went still. Claire continued, her voice shaking. I saw you go into that house. The big one on Maple Street. Who are you? Ben was quiet for a long moment. Then he sat down on the couch and sighed. My name is Ben Carter. I'm not just a blind man who begs for change. I own that house. I own several properties in this town. I have investments, savings, more money than I'll ever need. Claire stared at him, stunned. Then why do you live like this? Why do you pretend to be poor? Ben's face was sad but calm. Because I wanted to see who people really are. When I lost my sight, people treated me differently. Some pitied me. Some ignored me. Some were kind. I wanted to know what kindness looked like when there was nothing to gain from it. So I started living simply. I dressed in old clothes. I sat outside the grocery store. I listened to how people talked to me, how they treated me, and I learned a lot. Claire felt tears in her eyes. Why did you agree to marry me? Ben looked in her direction, even though he couldn't see her. Because Linda told me you had nowhere to go. She said you needed help. And when I met you, even though you were scared and uncertain, you were kind. You didn't treat me like I was less than human. That mattered to me. Claire didn't know what to say. Ben continued. I'm not blind, Claire. I haven't been for 2 years. I had surgery. It worked. My vision came back almost completely. But I kept pretending because I wasn't ready to go back to the life I had before. I wasn't ready to deal with people who only saw my money. Claire felt like the ground had shifted beneath her. You can see? Ben nodded. I can see you right now. And I've seen how hard you work, how kind you are, even when you think no one is watching. Claire sat down, overwhelmed. So what happens now? Ben leaned forward. Now you decide. You can stay here, and we can build a life together as partners. Or if you want to leave, I'll help you get on your feet. Either way, you're not alone anymore. For the first time in years, Claire felt something she thought she had lost. Hope. She stayed. Over the next year, Claire and Ben built a real relationship. He helped her enroll in community college. She started studying to become a teacher. He showed her the properties he owned and taught her about managing money. She taught him how to let people in, how to trust again. Eventually, Ben stopped pretending. He revealed his true situation to the town. Some people were shocked. Others were angry that he had deceived them. But the people who had been genuinely kind to him, the ones who had treated him with respect when they thought he had nothing, those people understood. As for Linda, when she found out that Ben was wealthy, she tried to reconnect with Claire. She showed up at their house one day, all smiles, acting like she had always cared. Claire stood in the doorway and looked at the woman who had made her life so difficult. Linda started to speak, but Claire cut her off. You made your choice. Now live with it. And she closed the door. Claire and Ben got married again a year later, a real wedding this time, with people who genuinely loved them. It was small, meaningful, and filled with joy. So here's what I want to ask you. Have you ever been in a situation where someone underestimated you or wrote you off? How did you prove them wrong? And if you were Claire, would you have stayed with Ben after learning the truth, or would you have left? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts. And if this story reminded you that kindness and patience can lead to the most unexpected blessings, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep sharing stories that make you think, feel, and see the world a little differently. Next time, I'm going to tell you about a man who discovered his late wife had been sending him letters for 10 years after her death, and what those letters revealed changed everything he thought he knew about their marriage. You won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and remember, the people who seem to have the least are sometimes the ones with the most to give.